Bottom tier character Tomozaki episode 6. And this episode reminded me a little bit about season 1 because the general aspect, the general feeling of the episode was that of a season 1 episode. You can see the interactions between Aoi and Tomozaki. We're kind of nostalgic in the sense that, we're going to the beginning, to the foundation of the anime. You have Tomozaki and Aoi just hanging out, talking about things, of how Tomozaki should improve himself and things like that. We haven't seen things like this since the first season because the first half of this season has been a little bit different, not necessarily bad, but a little bit different. Not so much time between Aoi and Tomozaki like before. Yeah, they still interacted, they still did things like that, but in general, it was focused on another thing. I don't know how the second part of the season will pan out. I don't know if it will be the same, Tomozaki not hanging out a lot with Aoi, but it doesn't seem to be the case because at least this episode made us, think that we're going to see more of Tomozaki and Aoi. And we even see, some little moments that were even beyond what the first season did. For example, some of the conversations that Aoi and Tomozaki had were in the aspect of having personal questions, were in the aspect of being personal themselves. So yeah, in that aspect, it was a very interesting but also enjoyable episode, a nostalgic episode because again, we get to see a little bit of what we saw in season 1 with some little bit of extra things happening here and there. And there were some surprising things that happened in this episode that made me really, well, surprised of course, because you wouldn't expect an episode like this, a shield episode, a transitionary episode, the beginning of a new, I guess you can say mini arc, to have that many surprising things. You would expect just to be setting up the future episodes for what is to come, but it actually had some interesting bits that I think are actually worth mentioning. The most important one of those is being Aoi's mentality. By the way, I don't know if I've been saying I before when referring to Aoi, but I don't know if I did that, sorry if I did that, but yeah, one of those things was Aoi's mentality, what she is thinking right now, because we saw in the previous episode that she did something a little bit nasty, some people might say. A lot of people in this episode agree with that, Tomozaki, Kikuchi, and probably some other people. And yeah, a lot of people are wondering why did she do that, why is she thinking like that. And in this episode, Tomozaki directly asked her, not going around there, not being indirect. He directly asked her, which I was surprised by because you would expect him to be a little bit more indirect, a little bit more shy about it, but no, he just said it. And to sum up what she said, because she said a lot of things in regards to that situation, well, she said two things that were important. The first one was that she did it because she thought it was the only way of stopping Erika, which I don't know if I agree with that. I can see it in some aspects because Erika is that type of person that maybe she doesn't learn until she faces some real consequences. But then on the other hand, it is not like she's some, brute force, she's an uncontrollable force. She has some feelings, she has some, aspect to her that makes her a human being. It is not like she is, this dark force. No, she's not like that. So yeah, I can see both ways. I can see why Aoi would think that, but I also can see why other people may think that that is not the correct decision. And the other thing she said in respect to that is that, well, she was simply angry. She did it because she was angry, and that's it. Which, to be honest, is a simple answer, but an effective answer because, yeah, she did it because she was angry. And I think everyone was angry. Even the viewer was angry with what was happening. Yeah, I can see why she did it. I don't know, again, if that was the correct decision to do because Tomozaki says that it's a little bit nasty, it's a little bit unnecessary to do that because he thinks that she went too far. He's not necessarily angry with her. It is not like he is going to cut off ties with her. He's a little bit, I don't know if the correct way to say it is disappointed. Perhaps the most correct way to say is curious. And the other important thing that happened in this episode that surprised me was that of what the next arc is going to be about. Tomozaki will try to get closer to one of the girls that Aoi mentioned, or not necessarily closer, but just straight up for one of them to be his girlfriend. So that is surprising that we're moving to that aspect of the plan already this fast. Even Aoi mentioned in the middle of the episode that even her was a candidate. Of course, she was joking about it, but it was a little bit surprising to see her put herself as a candidate. I don't think she will be a candidate for this upcoming arc unless something specific happens. Maybe just as Tomozaki is trying to get closer with one of the other 4 girls, something happens that makes, Tomozaki and Aoi a little bit closer than they currently are, which I would like to see that, to be honest. But yeah, those 4 girls are Izumi, Minami, Tama, and Kikuchi. I think all of us has one favorite girl out of those 4. It is not like all 4 of them are bad or anything like that, or 3 of them are bad. I think we can all agree that they are actually pretty good candidates for Tomozaki if Tomozaki were to end up with one of them. But I think it is also pretty fair to say that there is one candidate that is a favorite among the others. Which is my favorite, to be honest? I don't know. Maybe Minami Minami, maybe Izumi. Although it is a little bit rare because Izumi already has a boyfriend, Nakamura, so it is a little bit weird seeing her among the candidates, but Aoi explains it as having multiple options, as having your mind open, as having multiple doors open. I don't know if a lot of people will agree with that because many people will just consider that playing with people's emotions, but this is what happens in this anime, I guess. Although, to be fair, Tomozaki doesn't agree with it. It is not like Tomozaki said like, oh yeah, Izumi is a candidate for me. Nothing wrong with that. Let's just go with the plan and let's see what happens. It was not like that. He was actually questioning Aoi's morality on that aspect. And there was a moment in this episode when Tomozaki and Izumi were talking. I was wondering what that was all about because it didn't actually add a lot to the whole plot. But then when it got mentioned that she was one of the candidates for Tomozaki's quote-unquote future girlfriend, it made sense to me why that scene was shown. It was kind of, I guess you can say, foreshadowing for what may to come. Of course, there's also a possibility that that doesn't happen because we have to remind ourselves that Nakamura and Tomozaki are actually really good friends, so it would be surprising to see them fight. But I mean, I guess anything is possible. But yeah, that was pretty much everything that happened in the episode. A pretty enjoyable episode. And if you don't want to miss any episode reviews, please subscribe to the channel. Also, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. And yeah, that will be everything by me. And I guess I'll see you all in the next episode review.